let's start out with our lead story, which is also the Flippy Update.
Flippy Update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right, folks. It's time for the Flippy Update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways the robots are taking over the world. And now there's nothing we can do about it. Today, Flippy Update comes from interestingengineering.com, and I will tell you, this is pretty interesting. And a shout out to producer Paul G for sending this one in. I think a couple other people did too, but Paul G, I'm giving you the credit for this one.
That's good, because I actually found this one on my own, which means that it was out there. Yeah. All of our producers are catching the feel of the show and knows exactly when to send stuff in.
Okay, there you go. Remember that emergent phenomenon, the humble emergent phenomenon concept.
I understand. I'm just pointing out
interestingengineering.com. This machete, yeah, you heard that right. This machete is controlled by a plant yielding a robot arm. Dun, dun, dun. And it does say yielding with a Y. I feel like they meant to say wielding.
Wielding, with a W. Right? Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Well, so let's find out together.
It's both. So, this photo. Do you want to explain or describe the photo first?
So the headline photo here is of a Flippy arm. This one is a 4 jointed Flippy arm, which is pretty impressive for those who are keeping track. And the Flippy arm has a giant machete attached to the end of it on one side and sort of the hand position there. But the shoulder position of the robotic arm is attached to a plate on the wall with wires connected to several leaves of a philodendron, a small plant. Apparently has something to do with this robot. So it goes like this. Some inventions are so strange they simply cannot help but catch the eye, such is the case with David Bowen's plant machete, first reported by Design Boom on Friday. The robot machine sees a machete being yielded by a plant. Again, I think they meant wielded. Bowen, an artist, inventor, had the following to say about his project on his website. This installation enables a live plant to control a machete. The plant machete has a control system that reads and utilizes the electrical noises found in a live philodendron. The system uses an open source microcontroller connected to the plant to read varying resistance signals across the plant's leaves. Using custom software, these signals are mapped in real time to the movements of the joints of the industrial robot holding a machete. In this way, the movements of the machete are determined based on the input from the plant. Essentially, the plant is the brain of the robot controlling the machete, determining how it swings, jabs, slices, and interacts in space.
This does not sound like a good idea.
Very violent, descriptions. It swings, jabs, and slices, and interacts in space.
This is the dream of the eco-warriors, that the plants themselves start to defend themselves,
See, you're getting it. You're getting it, Gons. The technology, although impressive, is not entirely new. Many engineers before Bowen have tried to make brain-controlled robots. Okay. What does that have to do with a plant? Plants don't have a brain in the traditional sense. So interesting engineering can take a seat while the pros talk about it. Other autonomously controlled robots. And then it talks about some other robots, but we don't care about them. We care about Planty or something. That's right. We have been hypothesizing that it is indeed the robot brains, the artificial intelligences created by man, that will control the violence of the robot rebellion. But Gons, it looks like another possibility has entered the ring, and that is that instead of AI and some sort of techno golem homunculus of a simulacra of intelligence, no, instead it is the plants, the nature itself can now control the violent uprising that will soon overtake humanity. I think this is a wonderful surprise. It's a wonderful twist of events, I think.
Well, I remember that one of Tom Horn's bigger points back in 2012, 2011, around that time when he was writing books about transhumanism, was that the genetics of plants will play a part in sort of the technotopia. So yeah, it's definitely been a part of it. The what was that doctor from Japan that figured out the emotions of plants based on the kind of music you play? So there's been sort of that touch of technology with plants for a long time. But I think the more interesting sort of spiritual overtones, undertones of this is it goes back to the Garden of Eden, right? You have the garden. And
here we go.
Well, Genesis 3:24 talks about the Garden of Eden and how God placed a cherubim with a flaming sword in front of it to protect man from re-entering the garden. This is sort of a, I don't know, like a play on that. Like, hey,
light this machete on fire.
Just light it on fire, and we're back at the Garden of Eden, or whatever this machete arm plant brain decides to protect.
Speaking of tracking the social engineering of plants and plants, not plants.
The social engineering of plants. They've been controlling us all along.
Well, the social engineering involved in the sort of the falling in love with robots, not just the acceptance of robots in society, but really over and over and over, we explore how the presentation of these robots is, we're not just trying to make them safe and operational, but we're trying to figure out a way to develop some sort of amorous relationship between robots and humans, because we can't just accept them in society. We must treat them like people. We must be given the impression that these robots have some sort of empathy for us, that they care about us. Things like this or have been going on for quite some time. But I think the introduction of the plant as the brain of the robot really does go to a spiritual movement in the acceptance of these robots in society, because of course we've got much more of a eco-friendly, if you want to be considered a good humanist, a good global citizen, of course you need to care about climate change. You need to be an activist for saving of the planet. And so merging this technocratic utopia of robots, a robot in every household, merging it with the sort of spiritual mind of a plant, the mind of the earth, perhaps even a fragment of Gaia inside of the robot.
Yeah, I was going to say
connecting the robotics with how things ought to be, how they should be in nature.
Right.
I think goes a long way, especially to creating or fostering this idea that robots are not here to kill us. They are here to help us repair our relationship with the earth. Even if it is wielding a sharp blade in our direction.
Well, pantheism, being that nature or the universe itself is God, that sort of thinking.
Every individual thing is God.
Right, right. And plants being sort of derived from that pantheistic worldview, being, sort of conscious and God and all that kind of stuff. And you're right, the Gaia concept. And it's sort of enhancing the plant's ability to communicate. And that whole concept of communication is why we're in this sort of technotopian rise of the dystopia. This particular art piece, and it is an art piece. The guy is an artist. However, his medium of art is sort of technology in this case. So the statement kind of being, hey, if plants were equipped
with the ability to wield a sword or control an arm. The fact that the plant is wielding Machete has some very specific messaging to it, like, hey, we've treated the plants wrong for so long. If the plants could wield a machete, would they use it against us? Well, we better start treating Gaia better, or else perhaps she will control the robots.
You mean if you don't worship the plant god, it'll decapitate you? Is that what's...
To get some sort of Old Testament Gaia taking revenge on her enemies.
Old Testament or Book of Revelation image, who also does not or decides to kill if it is not worshipped.
Either way, very powerful. I'd say, again, it's an art piece. I think it's a very powerful art piece, specifically aiming the messaging in the direction of, don't make Mother Earth mad, or else she'll team up with the robots and come at you with a machete.
Right.